case you missed it, it's the top 5 sports talkers of the day. Now, it's time for Dan Barrero's Top 5 at 5.
We've got Lavelle in about a half hour, and we got a hell of a tease from the producer of the program regarding Minnesota Twins ownership steam.
Dan, in my opinion, this would be a home run. That was a pun because it's about baseball. But this would be a home run when it comes to the transition of ownership. We all know that the Pohlads are exploring a sale. They made that clear to us, in October, I want to say, after 40 years of ownership and now a third generation. And we all said at the time, you don't know who's behind door number 2. Sure, it could be another family that doesn't care about winning and just wants to make money and doesn't really care, or isn't one of those reckless, spend whatever it takes type of owners. Now, I don't know a lot about the Ishbia family, the Ishbia brothers, but I know enough. And Bloomberg reported it. The Athletic, along with Dan Hayes, confirmed it, that Justin Ishbia and his brother, Matt, who owns the Phoenix Suns, are interested in buying the Twins from the Pohlad family. Justin, if you're wondering, is estimated to be worth $5.4 billion. He's leads the Twins investor group and is part of the Suns' majority ownership group. Matt purchased the Suns in December 22, and 3 days after that, they acquired Kevin Durant. Justin is the founder and managing partner of Shore Capital Partners, an equity firm in Chicago. Let's see what else. Other numbers you need to know. Not too much, but has given a lot of money to Michigan State. He was a basketball player at Michigan State back in the day, was part of the 2000 national championship team coached by Tom Izzo. And so the Ishbia brothers, apparently, according to these sources, are very interested in buying the Twins. Your thoughts?
Well, the initial thoughts are the Suns' Ishbia has been a little frightening in a way because allegedly he's been one of those owners who's way too involved.
Yeah, there could be that.
But so if let's play this out, and let's say the brother is similarly disposed. Given how much money he's worth and they're worth, it's probably a trade-off you'd say is close to a home run, because with the kind of money they're talking about, they ain't going to worry about, we got to go from, what was it last year? What was our payroll a year ago?
130.
From 130, we got to go from, 130 to 122, or we got to hold it. We can't possibly consider adding $10 million to our payroll. There's a good reason to believe that issue, regardless of the regional TV deal, would go away. That when a guy like that gets involved and it's a new toy for him, you're not going to have to worry about him, cutting pennies here, trying to save $15 there. You can't go after not the best pitcher out there, but the 5th or 6th best pitcher out there. That would be a godsend here, would it not? Especially when usually the early years, the new guy is going to be even more disposed to play around and have fun. And if the trade-off is, he might be knocking on the door of the president of baseball operations like 8 times a day. I wouldn't love it because I don't think those teams generally do well. I like to have owners who make the right hire and then let people do their job. But let's be clear. Let's be honest about something. Right now, you need somebody with such obscenely deep pockets that all this crap that we have to deal with year to year about, they thought they were getting $50 million from on the regional deal, and it turns out they only ended up with half that, so we're going to have to compensate for that and come down $25 million more than we would have otherwise. That's the albatross that I want to get rid of for a while, don't you? More than anything else, just get out from under that. And there's no illusion. I'm not saying that means I expect they're going to spend $300 million in payroll or even $200 million in payroll. Now, the paranoid will say, where's he going with this thing? Where does he want to go with this thing? But I don't know that we have to worry about moving to another town anymore, do we? Are there enough other towns to move to in baseball?
I don't think so. People are trying. I've heard some more whispers about that as it pertains to the teams trying to buy the Timberwolves.
Yeah.
if it's A-Rod and Lori,
Right.
if they don't get their stadium, I just don't think it's realistic anymore. Like, Minneapolis has proven itself as a market that can handle all this stuff.
Correct.
The Twins, definitely not. They've got their relatively new ballpark. It's now, 14 years old, whatever it is.
Yep.
Just taking a look, by the way, we mentioned, are they worried about spending? The Phoenix Suns have the highest salary allotment this year in the National Basketball Association. Second, by the way, your Minnesota Timberwolves. They are well within the second apron, in case you're wondering. Their total payroll this year is about $220 million. So they don't care.
And that's for 15 basketball players.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
It's not a whole baseball team.
It's not a 25-man or even a 40-man roster.
We ain't going to have to worry about that. Again, we might have to worry about other things, but beggars can't be choosers in this position. And in this situation, you want to get somebody that has the deepest pockets possible, especially as it pertains to baseball, because there are some legitimate concerns about baseball.
Yes.
At this point. So if you can get somebody who's like, we want the toy. We want another toy. The one Ishbia brother, I think he's the main Suns guy. So this Ishbia brother says, I want to be the main. Give me a chance to be the main guy.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
It's a world that we can't relate to, but that is vital. And you got to play in those deep waters in any sport, professional sport in 2024, but especially in Major League Baseball.
You could make the argument, I think I will, in terms of the involvement by the owners, that in their own way, the Pohlads were very meddlesome.
You could make that argument.
Now, theirs came with a big decree.
Yes.
Of not like day-to-day operations of they're in the office every day, asking
they weren't
Baldelli
saying,
about the lineup.
We want you to trade for this guy at all costs or go cut that player. It's more, here's how much money you have to work with.
Right.
Good luck to you. And that, in its own way, is poisonous and very influential.
Yeah, it can be very meddlesome there.
Correct.
So anyway, I thought that was an interesting bit of news coming out of the winter meetings in Dallas. Really the only bit of Twins news that came out of Dallas.
Well, somebody's saying, is this the Ishbia that had a courtside scuffle or interaction with a visiting player? I don't remember that, but I think if it would be Matt, right?
Yeah, he did.
I don't remember the scuffle, do you?
Because the ball came, and I think he tried to take the ball away from the player.
Oh, okay.
It was something like that, yeah. Which, whatever. We can use a little Mark Cuban around here.
All I remember of that's Matt, right?
Yeah.
Sons? Mm-hmm. Was the sort of, looked like he'd been run over by a car expression on his face while the Timberwolves swept him.
Yeah.
Right? In the playoffs.
That was nice.
I did see a lot. In fact, I think he was sitting with he had kids around. I can't remember. He was right, obviously, courtside. That's what you tend to do. So, yeah, it's intriguing. I don't even think to this point any other names have surfaced. That beyond the obvious local names, but they haven't advanced past that first couple of days, which tells me I don't know how serious some of these teams are. Now, all this indicates is that he's sniffing around, right? That doesn't mean he necessarily has made an offer or will make an offer.
They're interested parties. Which is, they're kicking the tires, and we'll kind of go from there. And I'm sure we'll get some reaction from Lavelle Neal III at 5:30. If anybody is going to Target Center tonight to watch the Timberwolves take on the Los Angeles Lakers, tip is 7. You will not see LeBron James.
Is he even with the club? I don't think he's even with the team.
That I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think he is.
But you might see.
He's got an injury, but there's also this feeling of they're letting him kind of for personal reasons just go to a darkness retreat or something. Just get away because he's not been playing well at all. The team analytically has actually played better at times without him on the court. And could this be a precursor to there's one way to re-energize LeBron at this point, trade him to the Golden State Warriors? That's one of the rumors.
With Jimmy Butler, too, who apparently wants out of Miami.
We can get Butler. We can get buckets for Julius Randle. Would you do that?
I probably would.
I'd be tempted.
I probably would. Because you know what buckets also gives you is some Jaden McDaniels security, I think, or insurance.
Buckets back in Minnesota. But although I think he's named like 14 franchises and we're not one of them. Does he know Cat's traded to New York? Because he hated
Wiggins
Cat
isn't here anymore.
and Wiggins, right? They're both gone.
Yeah. Right.
How good would that be? He ends up coming back here triumphant. Although, what's he got left? I haven't watched Miami enough to know. When Pat Riley is exasperated with you, that's a little bit of a warning bell.
That's a bad sign.
That's got a little of Julius Randle written all over it, too, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'd have to think about it. Maybe I'll think about it this weekend while I'm watching tonight. But that was a long, winding road to say that Rob Dillingham, you may see him because
Dilly's back?
Well, he's not on the injury report.
Nice.
He's not listed on the injury report that came out yesterday. That's the other question. He might. Let's hope the Wolves kind of handle their business. The big question is, let's see what happens tonight. If the good vibes, most of them, for 4 straight games, and then 3 quarters against the Golden State Warriors on Sunday, if that continues tonight as the Wolves look to knock off the Lakers for a second time in a couple of weeks here at Target Center with the tip at 7. Game you'll hear on the iHeart channel or the Timberwolves channel of your iHeart Radio app.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to a little bit of that. Is D'Lo healthy? Is D'Lo playing tonight?
I'm pretty sure he is. I don't know if he's playing, but I'm pretty sure he's healthy.
I mean, they got it. If LeBron's out, they probably need him, don't they?
Probably.
What happened to their rookie who got off to such a... Is he still playing well?
Dalton Connect.
Yeah, is he still brilliant? Or I haven't heard as much about him because the Lakers have cooled.
They've cooled, yes.
They've cooled considerably.
And he did next to nothing against us.
Yeah.
So I don't remember who was guarding him. But we locked up Dalton Connect.
Jaden take care of him?
He must have.
Maybe that was him.
But Jaden was on LeBron a lot, too.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm not exactly sure. Wild lost 4-1 last night against the Edmonton Oilers, a game you could have heard right here on the Fan. And they lost Jake Middleton for at least 10 games. Upper body injury is on the long-term injured reserve in the business.
That's
they call
12% of the season.
Is it 12?
I think.
Yeah.
Not sure.
That's another tough one.
Yeah.
LTIR, as they call it. So another injury for the Wild. They continue the homestand. Games 2 and 3 of the 5-game homestand this weekend. Tomorrow night against Philly. Sunday night at 5 o'clock against the Las Vegas Golden Knights.
Well, we just have to hope that as badly as they played yesterday and as bad as the injury news is, that it doesn't have to be we're going to fall off the edge of the ice or the edge of the earth, right? Which is what Russo is drumming up, the shock jock that he is.
That was crazy.
Because of what happened. This is the anniversary of our collapse that began 2011 season. Same time, best record in hockey, key injury, we go in the tank and we don't even make the playoffs. But this team, of course, has Kaprizov, among other things. At least for now, until he gets hurt.
The front runner for the MVP.
And then all bets are off at that point.
Let's hit the straddle.
We'll do it. We'll come back. I got a couple of texts to take us to the bottom of the hour when Lavelle Neal III should join. We'll see what steam he has about the possibility of one of the Ishbias owning the Minnesota Twins and get to several other stories, including the breaking Randy Moss news. Stay tuned. Did you screw up the math again?
On what?
I'm starting to get paranoid now. Everybody's watching. We're like in double secret probate. Adam in White Bear Lake. Gaardsy math once again pops up again. Good Lord. Target Field opened, I believe, in 2000. It's now 2024. So with my math, that means Target Field's 24 years old. Next year will be year 25, not 14. Just helping out in the math for you. LOL, Adam in White Bear. Is that what you said?
No.
Oh, he got that wrong?
Like me, he got the math right, but the numbers wrong.
Oh.
Target Field opened in 2010. It did not open in 2000.
Is that true?
Yes. Well, I don't know. I think it's 2010 because I think 09 was the last year.
You got to be right. That's got to be right. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So he's just got the years wrong.
Yes.
He wanted to believe the worst in you.
I understand that. And when it comes to math, I understand
when it comes to the math. Poleheads are already the type to go to baseball operations. They just tell them not to spend. Who they employed were their puppets telling the world the Poleheads never say no. That's because the Poleheads make all the decisions to pinch pennies. Maybe we'll try to get Lavelle going with that. Somebody has complimented Lavelle for his column regarding what was the big contract that the Mets signed.
Soto.
Like and was it $7? It was like $750 million. Is
something
that
like that? Yeah.
Yeah. I told you that I'm going to admit this to Lavelle. I'm not going to lie. I couldn't read his column, and it might have been brilliant because I just assumed I already knew what he was going to write, that he was going to use it to further excuse the Twins. Well, can you blame the Twins? How can they possibly compete with that? By the way, we're under orders from Lori Fisher to remind folks this will be the second time on today's show that Enough Said will appear. There will be baseball discussion, among other things, on the program that is at its regular time, 7:30 on Fox 9 Plus and 9:30 on Fox 9. They could apparently not find a stock car race to preempt us with. So, and there's no football right now, right? Because it's tweener.
Right.
So my Hoosiers are in South Bend to play Notre Dame a week from tonight, right? That's the Friday night primetime game.
Yes, it is.
I'm excited.
You should be. It's going to be awesome.
Well, I mean, I hope it's going to be awesome. I want it. Let me ask you a serious question here. And Mason got ripped for this, but I don't think he's wrong. And it helped that I heard it from him because he's got no dog in the fight. Maybe I will be accused of having a dog in the fight, being a Hoosier alone. But why is the game at Notre Dame rather than Indiana? Now, I understand Notre Dame would be favored either way, so you could say to that extent, then they should be the home team. I'd say false. If by the end of the season, the Indiana schedule, not very good, was still better than Notre Dame's, and Notre Dame's loss was to Northern Illinois, I don't care that it was early in the season,
yeah,
and Indiana's was to Ohio State, why is that game not in Bloomington, Indiana?
I can't tell you, because they didn't respect the rest of the Hoosiers' body of work like they did with Notre Dame. Because, it's all about the brands. They love the brands. That's not a good reason, I would say. I agree. I would agree with you. And I don't care that most people would have, the odds makers have, the idea that because you're favored means you should get the home game, I don't think that should be what matters. Because the rest of the Indiana body of work, if in the end their schedule was actually as thin as it was, a better schedule than Notre Dame's, Indiana, regardless of what you think about the schedule, with the exception of Michigan, which, by the way, by the end of the season, yeah, they were better.
Was better and good enough to knock off Ohio State at Ohio State.
You're right. And plant the flag.
And plant the flag. That Indiana destroyed those other teams that they played throughout the course of the season. So the only reason I haven't made a bigger crusade of it is I knew I was going to be accused of, it's your Hoosier, because you went to school there. Maybe it is, but I think I could detach myself enough to say that I don't think that's necessarily a very good look. Now, Mason's opinion is it's all money, that and it's branding and it's Notre Dame and they want to have a Notre Dame home game. So
which doesn't make it. I don't know if they want to have a Notre Dame home game. Because I don't think that matters as much. Like, people are going to watch it no matter what.
Yeah, that's true.
The tickets are going to be insane no matter what. So I don't know if that makes a big difference. Like, they want, B-roll of touchdown Jesus leading into it. You could do that either way. I just think they're trying to reward the brand and give them the higher seed for whatever the reason. I don't know why.
Have you heard at all from, let me see if I can find it, the hockey community? Can they give us any help on Travis Dermott, the player we picked up on waivers in the wake of putting the freshly injured Jake Middleton on the LTIR list?
I haven't heard much.
And what does LTIR stand for? Long-term injured list.
Yep.
That means
injured reserve.
Injured reserve, I should say. He has to miss at least 10 games and 24 days. That's considerable. And given how well he's played and how important he is, look, we've talked about the sort of defensive destiny of several of the teams. The Wolves at their best, even this year, I think it has to be about how well they play defense. The Vikings have improved, sure, in some measure, because Darnold has been healthy and he has played better as the season went on, and they have a very potent passing game when it's going well. But the defense is the heart and soul of this Vikings club, there's no question. And in the case of Minnesota Wild, the reversal from a year ago is all built on defense. Goaltending and what's happened in front of him, and Middleton being lost for this length of time is a bit concerning. Now, you do have, the beauty of it is, you got a lot of money in the bank. That is the beauty of not backpedaling into the start of the season, which was a big issue last year. Even before the injuries started, the Wild seemed bored with the start of the regular season. They hit it hard this year. And they have, obviously, then a lot of cushion. But I know very little about whether they can get anything, even a little bit, out of left shot defenseman Travis Dermott, who has been around 8 seasons, Toronto, Vancouver, Arizona, and we claimed it off waivers from the Edmonton Oilers. Didn't they just beat us?
Last night.
They dominated us as well.
And that was another part of the Russo story was that Guerin was talking to one of their GMs or one of their front office people in the press box last night. Presumably, probably trying to get a little bit of a scouting report.
Okay.
What do we think?
Yeah.
What do you think? You know what?
I mean, I'd like to hear even from. You think Fallness would give us a scouting report on Dermott?
I bet he's checked out today. He's checked out now.
What do you think he's doing right now? He's at probably some like community rink, isn't he?
Probably looking at random pictures of Zach Halverson to tweet out.
He's obsessed with Halvey, isn't he?
Who is it? How can he not be?
Yeah. That's how it comes off. He definitely seems obsessed.
Halvey did Vox in the Box yesterday with PA because Nordo was on his way to Army-Navy.
Mm-hmm.
And you know this. You've been around PA a lot. When he's on one, as the kids would say, PA, and playing fast, it can be a little bit of a roller coaster.
Yeah.
Halvey was hanging on like he just ran across the press box
Seriously?
and needed to give a Hermantown report. He was hanging on for dear life because PA was playing fast.
Yeah. Well,
Kevin Gorg was there right every step of the way.
Happen.
Halvey, I think, was a step behind a couple of times, but he caught up by the end of the show.
All right. Are we going the distance tonight?
Yes, sir.
What's that all about?
I know.
Well, why are we out early for the Wolves?
Because they're on the app tonight.
Why are they on the app?
I don't make those decisions. I wasn't asked. This was like...
It's the Lake Show.
Yes, but it's also... We found out about this game like a week ago because
this was
one of the
added
NBA
game.
Cup added games.
NBA Cup, because we didn't make the cut, did we?
Again.
The NBA Cup. All right, Lavelle, I don't think it's going to surprise us today to make an in-studio visit, but I do think we're going to get him on the phone. We'll get his reaction to the latest Twins ownership steam, a little bit on the Randy Moss story, and we'll catch you up on that one if you've not been paying attention to it. And who knows what else. Lavelle right around the corner. Questions for Lavelle? Hit the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line 64686. Lavelle's appearances, of course, are always brought to you by Allery's Bar and Barbecue, downtown St. Paul, your home of free parking and wild shuttles. Lavelle, let's start with the breaking Randy Moss news. And for those who've not been paying attention to this story, I will review it for the listeners as well. He announced on his Insta today, right after about 4 o'clock Central Time, that he is battling a cancer that was found outside of his bile duct between his pancreas and liver. He introduced himself. He was aided by a cane, introduced himself as a cancer survivor, thanked his prayer warriors for their support. He had what's called a Whipple procedure, which is a very cutting-edge, elaborate, challenging procedure to put a stent on his liver on Thanksgiving after experiencing urine discoloration. Spent the past 6 days in the hospital before getting out Friday, and he said he's nursing himself back to full health with chemotherapy and radiation. Of course, he's been working most recently on ESPN's Sunday NFL Countdown, and in fact, announced on December 6th that he was going to be away for an extended time to focus on what he then called a personal health challenge. As soon as I get healthy to get back out with you guys, I will be on set. Hopefully I can be with you guys soon. My goal is to get back on television with my team. What's your reaction to this story?
Well, I didn't know that he had the Whipple procedure, and until you just mentioned it, just revealed it there. And that's a serious situation when that type of procedure is necessary. So, for Vikings fans here and there's football fans, as people in general, I think we're all thrilled that he's come out on the other side of this okay. And hopefully, after he goes through chemotherapy, that he can distance himself from cancer. They have that weekly segment on ESPN called "You Got Mossed," where people make fantastic catches. I hope Randy Moss's cancer in this situation and continue to move forward. Yeah,
it'd be a story worth watching. I think this is an aggressive form of cancer. Now, the devil's always in the details. So we can say, well, if you look online for this sorts of cancer in terms of survival rates, etc. But I'm loath to go down those roads because we don't know the specific nature here. We don't know the specific details about his, and so I don't think that's a game worth playing. What's fairly clear is this is serious stuff, and none of this is going to be easy. It's going to be a significant challenge, and we'll just pay attention to the story as the thing plays out. And in preparation for this discussion, I'd mentioned Gaardsy and I were talking about when Peyton went public with his battle, right? He had a disease I can't pronounce, and then eventually he also got cancer that pretty much took away his chance to get a liver transplant, right? Because that was the hope originally.
Right.
What struck me at that time was the suddenness of it. You could, the way in his case his body changed, how he looked, and just how vulnerable, a world-class, tough guy personified athlete can look, right? When he's battling the same thing that a lot of people battle, life-threatening disease.
Yeah. And two, the way that cancer kind of grips a family, a household and a family, it affects, every family member. Unfortunately, I lost both my parents to cancer, and I've watched it affect them in different ways. My father went in for chemotherapy for 1 week, and it never came out. Oh. And I was like 20. God, it was in 90. I was 26 years old when it happened. Just thinking that Dad was going to be around to be an influence over my life, and he was shockingly gone. And my mom battled colon cancer for a few years before she unfortunately left us as well. I've seen what it can do. I've lived what it can do to a family. I'm sure Randy's family was probably shocked and dismayed at getting the news. Fortunately, through modern medicine, these things can be attacked, and so there's hope. And Randy's brave for admitting it on air. A lot of people just would have said, "I'm stepping away," and maybe sent out a release. But he admitted on air that he was going through something. So, yeah, you think about the Walter Payton thing, and I still remember the press conference. Yes. And someone asked him, "Are you scared?" He said, "Hell yeah, I'm scared." Those are really riveting moments that really kind of grabs your insides, So, best of luck to Randy going forward as he fights through this.
We think of, like I said, certainly famous athletes are not the only ones who deal with this stuff. You just mentioned your family. I lost my mother to cancer when I was 30. She was 50. So this isn't to say that it's more important when it's somebody famous. But and I know that when it's a world-class athlete, right, and the young, right, Peyton, I think was, what did we say earlier? I think he was
46 when he died.
46 years old, when he passed away. That's the part of it you go, well, you think of vibrant athletes like that, and you just don't think they're going to be felled at all. But you certainly don't think they're going to be felled that way at that age. Randy Moss is, what do we say, 47? I think he's 47. What are you talking about? This is way too young to have to deal with these sorts of things, correct?
No doubt. And the thing is, too, is that, as fans, we see these guys when they're at their most indestructible part of their lives, and that's the image we have of them. Even if they're playing until their late 30s or 40s, your memories of them are when they're in their mid-20s and 30s, being at their best. And, Randy on Thanksgiving tearing up the Cowboys and pulling out his pants in Lambeau Field, we're pretending to, and all the moments that made him great and made him interesting. You don't expect that to happen to someone at such an early age, and it hits home because it's something everybody can connect with because of the millions of fans that he has and the millions of fans that Walter Payton had, and other athletes who have had to fight cancer. Ryan Sandberg just admitted a few days ago that he had a relapse in cancer, and now it's starting to spread to other organs. So. I saw the reaction to that on social media over the last couple of days. So, it's tough when your stars, you don't want to think, you want to think that your favorite sports heroes are indestructible and going to last forever. But in the end, we're all the same people, and we all can succumb to the same thing.
It ain't the way it works. You're 100% right. The games go on. They're going to play them this weekend because that's the way this thing works, obviously. I have to tell you, I don't think your Bears have any chance of sort of, causing the drama that they did a few weeks ago against the Vikings. I think the Vikings are going to win this game pretty convincingly. Maybe I'm overreacting to the way the Bears didn't compete against the 49ers. But I don't think this is going to be. I think it's going to be an ugly night for the Monsters of the Midway. What do you think? Monday night.
It could be the only way that the Bears make this interesting is that they have their pride was hurt in that loss to San Francisco because there's supposed to be a bump of adrenaline from the fact that Eberflus was no longer in the house and that Thomas Brown had taken over, and he's a great orator. When he talks, I hear Mike Tomlin's voice. Mm-hmm. You thought there was going to be a response to that, but it went the other way. And we also saw that how Matt Eberflus is a good defensive head coach because he kept the Bears in games with his schemes, and with Eric Washington calling the plays, Mike Shanahan had a field day drawing the plays against his scheme, and it looked bad. So now we got Kevin O'Connell, another offensive mastermind, probably licking his chops, and we have to see if Washington can be a better coach in less than a week. But here's the other thing too, Dan. DeAndre Swift has not practiced all week. Tomorrow's gonna be the big day. That's the last day before they make the final designation. Apparently he's got a hamstring issue, a groin issue that's slowing him down. He might not play. And if that's the case, they're down to, there's no more Khalil Herbert. It may be Travis Homer and Darrington Evans off the practice squad to lead the Bears rushing attack. And if that's not the optimal way to go into U.S. Bank Stadium and try to upset the Vikings. So there's a lot of things going on from a schematic aspect and from a health aspect that just adds up to the Bears having a long day on Monday.
Yeah, I think that's exactly the way it's going to. And again, we've been surprised before, but I just, in this case, I think there's too many things conspiring to allow the Bears to end up shocking the world this week. But, we'll see. And, of course, for Vikings fans, they'll be watching on Sunday when the Lions are hosting Buffalo because their hope is Buffalo finally slows Detroit, and then the Vikings are in a position where they could tie for the division if they beat the Bears. And then that potentially sets up if the Vikings can, run the course, which would mean beating Seattle there and Green Bay here, play a showdown game in Detroit for the division title. Where do you weigh in on the so-called Darnold dilemma, which is simply the obvious that we all know the master plan. We all know that the master plan, which includes saying goodbye to Darnold at the end of the year, handing the baton to J.J. McCarthy right away, is still in play. You don't have any decisions that you need to make yet. There's still the question about, as the Vikings finally start playing better teams after the Bears, how he plays and how the team plays. But do you think enough with Darnold has already happened that the Vikings are obligated to rethink the plan or at least consider the possibility that they have to find a creative way to extend their time with Sam Darnold?
Well, I think a lot's going to depend on how the playoffs go and what type of run they make. Can they win a couple games? Can they get to the conference championship at least? And that would be opportunity for Sam Darnold to prove that he can be effective and be productive when the games matter the most. And if he is able to play his best when the best is required of him, I borrowed that from a famous person I've heard a few times, then he set himself up to force the Vikings to try to keep him. But here's the thing, Dan. His agent's probably looking at his client going, hey, Sam, your next deal's got to be at least 3 years, man. 3 times 30, 3 times 35. I don't know, a little bit more than that. These guys want to maximize their earning potential. So, heck, he may try to get a 4-year deal for his client. Do the Vikings want to be part of that? The other tentacle to this is that Daniel Jones is around.
That's true.
Can KLC just kind of thumb his nose at the league and go, I know how to save quarterbacks better than you, and just proves it again next year with Daniel Jones, and just lets Sam Darnold go because the Vikings don't want to commit to 3 years or 4 years or whatever. I just can't see Sam wanting 2 years or less. I just can't see it, and that may force the Vikings to make a really tough decision. And meanwhile, J.J. McCarthy is on his rookie contract, and how many years of that do you want to burn without actually seeing what you have in him? So it's about winning. You think about the ownership. The Will family has always wanted to win, even when they were hiring KLC and Kwesi, they wanted to try to win as much as possible. They were not believers in a rebuild. They wanted to sustain success. So from that aspect, you think that they're definitely going to consider trying to keep Sam for the long haul. But once again, if Sam wants 3 or 4 years, I don't see how that could happen.
Let's change directions pretty dramatically here in our remaining minutes. Lavelle Neal III, brought to you by Allery's Bar and Barbecue in downtown St. Paul, your home of free parking and wild shuttles. A new name has surfaced, expressing apparently at least some cursory interest in purchasing the Minnesota Twins, and it's a member of the extremely deep-pocketed Ishbia family. What's your reaction to this story? What have you heard? And is this more, you think, than cursory? There might be some really serious interest here where something like this might actually be a possibility.
Well, the last few days have been really interesting. On Wednesday, I was communicating with someone with the organization who said they're definitely getting multiple parties who are very interested in the team. And they also have a group of parties who are kind of kicking their tires, haven't decided if they want to be serious or not. Last night, I was talking with someone who told me that there's a well-heeled family from the Midwest who is interested in possibly buying the Twins. So I got up this morning trying to figure out who could that possibly be when the Bloomberg report landed. And I was like, oh, this is what they were talking about. So they're from Michigan. They attended Michigan State. They've donated money to the Spartans cause. I think they donated $10 million to help baseball and basketball. I believe they also helped contribute money when Mel Tucker was hired as coach, or to help with his buyout. I can't remember which one it was. So, and their company headquarters apparently is in Chicago, and I think combined they're worth $15 billion. Sorry, and Justin Ishbia, I hope that's how you pronounce the last name, is a big lover of baseball. So he's checking off all the boxes. I was told this week that the Twins are hoping that by February or March, they'll have an idea of who the serious bidders are for the team. And then that next phase of that process will probably kick in at that point. It sounds like they want to get this done, or it could be wrapped up in about 6 months, or that would be the middle of next season. And it looks possible. At this point, there's a lot of possibilities. And just two, like I said, I spoke with 2 different people, and I'm hearing that they're definitely getting a lot of interest. In addition to people who right now are presenting themselves as serious buyers, and people who are kind of still kicking the tires and doing their due diligence if they want to actually throw their hat in the ring. So it's going to be interesting. I know fans are getting excited because his brother owns the Phoenix Suns.
Yes.
And, he put the Suns and Mercury's games on local free television, also swung deals for Kevin Durant. I think he also added Brady Beal, and both those guys aren't cheap to keep. So they're willing to go big and attack things and bring in name athletes. And I'm sure for long-suffering Twins fans who have been mad at how the Pohlads have been reluctant to take that step and jump into the deep end when it comes to paying for top talent, it's a possibility. But a lot of things have to happen before we get to that point where the keys to Target Field are handed over to the Ishbia brothers. Yeah, they have to look at the books and figure out the finances and the market size. The Twins are an attractive team because they have a modern stadium. They currently have a good roster. The one unknown is the television contract, and if that's going to be an impediment or not. But it's going to take, like I said, there's a lot of twists and turns are going to be taken here before we get to the solution.
What was the moral of your Soto column? A couple of people texted, said they enjoyed it. What would you say is the overarching point you made in that piece?
The signing was sent shockwaves. It reminded me, I was, at the winter meetings 24 years ago when A-Rod signed the $252 million deal to join the Rangers, and how the shockwaves that it sent throughout baseball. And this deal is doing a similar thing. Oh, by the way, Scott Boras finds another way to invent a clause. So now So now Soto has opt-outs in his contract. So the Mets can buy out his opt-out for another $4 million a year. So the total value of the deal could be $805 million. I mean, this is Morris always coming up with another way to push the envelope on these things. But where I was getting at was that, you look at Steve Cohen, you look at the Mets. I pointed out that the Mets payroll was $200 million more than the Oakland A's last year. And how can you have a sport in which there's that much disparity in payrolls? And the good thing is the owners are starting to realize this, and they're starting to get their ducks in a row. The CBA ends in 2026, and they're going to try to approach the Players Association with some measures that could help bridge the gap between poor teams and rich teams. But the big ones come in when in 2028, when TV deals for about 2/3 of the teams in the league expire, and then the MLB is going to bundle those and then sell them to the highest bidder for streaming services. And they're also going to finally attack the fact that only 48% of local television revenue is shared, and they're going to push that number up. I hope it's close to 100% as possible, because there's teams like the Dodgers getting $300 million a year for television, and we know what the Twins were getting a couple of years ago, and that's just crazy, So I'm just saying there is light at the end of the tunnel here, and it looks like the owners are ready, finally realizing that for the greater good of the game, maybe the big market teams have to understand that there's going to have to be some better revenue sharing in order to make everyone a little more profitable.
Let me ask you. Let's eliminate the larger question as it pertains to that. Like you say, some issues that baseball has to address and that the bigger markets have to acknowledge at some point. Let's just ask it this way: is there any way that kind of contract makes sense even for a big market team, given the nature of baseball, which is rarely does one player have the impact that he can or she can in basketball, certainly, and I would say even to an extent football when it comes to the quarterback position? Well,
$765 million, it's a heck of a lot of money. 15 years, the length to all it takes is one owner to be willing to go out there, and it changes the market forever. And I don't know. It's a heck of a question. I don't know what the right answer is. I want to say no, there's no way that contract is justified. But if the Mets win the World Series and they can benefit financially up from it, then they're going to say it's worth it. The owner, Steve Cohen, is a hedge fund guy who, as soon as he bought the Mets, everybody was worried about him doing things like this. And he doesn't care. So he's going to push the envelope until someone says you can't push it any farther. I think a player is worth what he can get at the time he gets it. So right now, Juan Soto's worth $765. Should he get that much? I'm going to say no. I just can't. He's going to be making 40-something million a year. That's just crazy. But you know what? In 5 years from now, there's going to be a first $1 billion player. As long as franchise values go up and TV deals improve and more revenue streams keep going up. Baseball just passed $12 billion. Some teams are going to be able to justify signing that deal to keep the ballpark full, to keep the TV ratings up, and to keep merchandise sales flowing. So it kind of sucks, but it's the way the market works.
Will you be at Allery's Monday night for the Monday night game, or do you have to cover it?
I have to cover it. I will be in the press box nice. For Vikings Bears. So
even better.
I was in the press box in Chicago for the first version, which ended up actually being a really good game.
Excellent.
I've never seen 11 points scored in 22 seconds before. And so I don't know if they're going to be repeat that. I think the Vikes are a 7-point favorite right now.
Correct.
I think they could cover. I know it's dangerous with the Bears. The Bears in covering they've been a hard team against the spread this year. But I think the Vikes could cover. Yes, this version of the Bears, this reeling version of the Bears, I think they can get it done.
What's the Sunday column?
I wrote about Carlos Correa, that I don't think he's going anywhere, and we should stop fantasizing about him possibly being dealt and what they can get in return. There's just too many obstacles and roadblocks. And the other thing, too, with this is that the Twins do have a good roster. I mean, if I know it's a huge if, with help, this team can compete. It didn't happen last year. And Carlos Correa's at the top of that roster. So this team's got a shot to still be in it next year. And why are you moving Correa if you're trying to win? Plus, I also threw it in there that also helps attracting an owner if you know you've got one of the best shortstops in baseball on the roster as well.
I was going to say, I think the Ishbia twins, or not twins, brothers, they'd say, hey, we want Correa on our club because they it's very clear that, well, the brother certainly loves stars. To me, we were talking earlier, the Ishbia who owns the Suns has already got a bit of a rap as a guy who's way too involved in that sense that he doesn't let his personnel people make their moves. He wants to make those moves. That's a danger. Although I think it's a trade-off, I got to tell you right now, Lavelle, fans would be willing to make if they've got such deep pockets that whether they're getting 50 million or 48 million or not from regional baseball, they wouldn't maybe lose their minds over it because they've got so much money. It almost doesn't matter.
Yeah, it depends how they're going to approach it. Like Peter Seidel, unfortunately the late owner of the Padres, wanted to win so bad he didn't care about the payroll. He wanted to do all he could to put a winner on the field. And unfortunately, he's no longer smelling the roses to see that happen. But if the Ishbia brothers look at it similarly, that we want to win, then yeah. We can see them come in and try to just shake things up. So, but once again, it helps to be able to have payroll flexibility. Doesn't guarantee a championship, but it sure is fun. It makes for headlines when you can make splashy moves.
Thank you for the time. Have a wonderful weekend, and we will. We'll have to figure out our schedule next week because I'm off as of Friday. Maybe Gaardsy. I think Gaardsy's off too. We'll figure it out. We'll either try to squeeze you in earlier in the week, or we'll give you a week off.
Okay, that's fine. Either way, I'll be more than happy to join you.
Thanks, Lavelle. Merry Christmas.
Yeah, bye.
That is Lavelle Neal III. We have a full half hour to go because they're not letting us out early today. We don't know what that's all about. We'll update you or kind of bring you back on a number of stories we have spent some time on, and I want to reflect back a little bit on an outstanding conversation we had with a former Chicago Bear, former NFL head coach in Carolina and Washington, Ron Rivera, at 3:30. They kind of came out of nowhere. More on that, too, when we come.
Man.
Get ready to experience the magic of James Taylor live in concert. Don't miss out on seeing this legendary singer-songwriter along with his all-star band when they take the stage at XL Energy Center. It's on June 17th. Tickets are on sale now. They went on sale today. Full details, KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
Who's going to win the Heisman Trophy?
Probably Hunter from Colorado.
And is that happening, forthwith? I see a Heisman Trophy show on ESPN. Is this just a preview, or is tonight?
No, this is a preview.
Okay.
Tomorrow is the actual award ceremony.
Okay,
but
gotcha.
They're milking it. They're definitely milking it.
Okay, I guess.
But why not?
I guess understandable. Final half hour of today's broadcast. Let me correct myself. We both found out that the Wolves game not only will be on the Timberwolves channel tonight on iHeartRadio, but it will be on the Fan tonight. Wolves and Los Angeles Lakers. It's a home game, and most of you may know that LeBron James has sort of left the club, allegedly for injury and personal reasons. Johnny Athletic tells us from Target Center that when Lakers coach J.J. Redick was asked if he knew when LeBron would rejoin the team, he replied, nope.
By the way,
did not offer any other details.
So this show has been a comedy of errors, and I take responsibility for all of it. Mm-hmm. Between my math, my possible target field screw up, the Wolves being on the Fan.
Well, you weren't wrong in the target field thing. He was wrong about when it was built.
That's true,
yeah.
But I've allowed for the illusion that I'm always going to be wrong.
Okay, that's the bit.
And I bring all of that up because the Wolves game is on the Fan tonight. This is our final segment. We've got 6 minutes left in the show. Because we've got to get Skull Stories in, which I had to double check to make sure that was loaded, even though that's not my job. I got the text about that to make sure, to double check.
Right.
Point is, as Taylor Swift would say, I need her shirt that says a lot going on at the moment.
Well, that must be it. Yeah. So you're saying we're done after this. So we're not going the full.
We're not, again, so we've been talking about that all day, and we're
So we milked it, and it's not even true. And in part because we didn't even know that it wasn't true until recently.
I think we need the holiday break or
that's
something.
That's just so good.
I don't know.
Well, no, we'll get ripped when we take the holiday break.
That's true. You might want to reconsider your Christmas plans.
Add to the savagery for sure.
So we're out at 6:11 tonight or so. I'll give you that heads up.
Fair enough.
I think.
That'll work for me.
Who knows?
That's okay.
Show Wrap is brought to you by American Pressure, by the way. Commercial grade pressure washer since 1975.
Do you want to play the sounder? Probably not necessary at this point.
Let's just do it.
It's the Bumper to Bumper Show Wrap.
There you go.
Don't need the music.
Okay. I would heartily recommend, if you were not listening to the 3 o'clock hour of the show, that you podcast our discussion with Ron Rivera, the former NFL head coach, assistant coach several places, played, of course, in the 85 Bears Club that won the whole thing. He was a linebacker for that team, had several more years with the Bears after that, in fact. The bit was Army-Navy. And during Army-Navy week, a lot of years, you've either gone or Nordo has gone, and Nordo's there this year.
Yep.
And they
with John Creasel.
With Creasel. So they help us, various stations that are, part of the you could say the partnership, get some really good guests. And in this case, the guest they got us was Ron Rivera. And we talked almost no football with Ron, which was my original intent for all the obvious reasons, given what a great season the Vikings are having. But we ended up going down the military road because, as it turns out, Ron Rivera grew up in a military family, moved 1,000,000 times as the son of a military man who, among other things, served in the Vietnam War, got back from the Vietnam War, and continued to serve in various capacities. And it led to a very interesting, I thought, discussion.
It was great.
On that. Rivera was outstanding. And we got to a couple of other things as well, but quite frankly, we ran out of time because he's on a schedule. He had other people, other shows I guess he needed to talk to. But if you missed it, I think you will enjoy it, especially if there is military influence in your family, because he also talked about the impact all that has had on him. And it was also, I thought, telling to hear, there's a constant chafing that goes on regarding the number of football coaches who almost want to speak in terms of football is war. And look, I think most people understand one thing is different than the other, and some of that is hyperbole to make a point. But in Rivera's case, he said, I was always really careful and conscious about it because I know the difference. I lived the difference in our family between, leadership in a war sense and leadership in a football sense, and that they ain't close. To hear that from a coach, I thought was rather refreshing and rather interesting. So that was between 3:30 and what?
3:45.
We went as long as we could with about 15, 20 minutes. Gaardsy was weird. Again, the latest Packer Fan Connections developments are strange.
The pictures are, again, strange.
That's true. And he was with us at 4 o'clock. And then Lavelle just joined us, and a lot of good stuff from him, too. We did talk early some Minnesota Wild hockey and whether Russo Radio is responsible for shock jocking it, relating back to injuries hitting the 2011 Wild, a team that, like the Wild of today, at this time of the year, had the best record in hockey, and then a couple players got hurt, and all hell broke loose. I don't think history's repeating itself, but that was part of the discussion early in the program, too. So that's the combo platter. Sermons, I'm assuming, is a 2-hour edition because, well, we know. I think we have confirmed this as much as we get wrong. The Vikings are not playing until Monday night.
Hasn't been flexed.
That's true. So that means a 2-hour sermons in which there's not going to be a lot. Well, I guess we can play off the Wolves Friday night result, the Wild Saturday matinee result, and then who knows what else, because there ain't much. There's no college football, right?
Besides Army-Navy.
Well, that's right. Besides
the standalone Army-Navy game.
Very good point.
Which you can hear on the fan.
Playoff stuff. Oh, we can hear it on the fan. That's good. Are you sure?
No, that's wrong, too.
That's on the Army-Navy channel.
It's on the Plus.
Okay. Even that.
Because the Wild are playing tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, that is, I think it, I won't say it. I was going to say 1 o'clock
Check
start.
Wild.com.
Don't trust
Kevin
us.
Fallness.
Don't even trust us. Don't even trust us that the Wild are playing tomorrow at all. They might not be playing till Sunday.
I know they're playing Sunday at 5 because I'm going to that game.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Yes.
Somebody's saying, well, you haven't had a full show since the 7th of September. I think that's a bit of an embellishment.
I'll take their word for it.
2 full shows Monday and Tuesday this week.
It feels maybe that's why we're struggling.
Even Wednesday. I thought the first 3 days of the week we went the distance, and then yesterday we were back to 6 o'clock, and today we thought we were going the distance, and it turns out, well, there's your Spinners music.
I think we needed some load management or something. We didn't handle the first 3 days well.
That's exactly what it might be. So sermons on Sunday, beginning at no Gopher football Sunday on Sunday.
Correct.
That's correct. What's the date of our bowl game?
Friday, January 3rd.
And we're favored, right? Who we playing?
Virginia Tech.
Virginia Tech. That's
they just
not a
fired
sexy
some
matchup.
defensive coaches.
Did they?
They've got like 15 guys in the portal.
Oh, my. Ooh.
PJ might be bathing in mayonnaise by the end of that game.
Is that a guarantee?
That's the tradition.
Okay.
Well, I'm not making a call.
Oh, I thought maybe you were making a call. You making a call? Is that a call?
It's looking likely.
Yeah, it probably is likely for sure. Enjoy your weekend. Good luck with the Ice Nami that allegedly is coming later tonight. And I will talk to you on Sunday morning at 9.
Thank you, everybody, for coming here.